I just sort of lost my game. I gave all my power away.
Hmm.
And in doing so, um, I was waiting for people to love me.
Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. I want to welcome Treva, Brandon, Scharf back for another episode talking about dating and finding love after 50. Treva, thanks so much for being here again.
I am so happy to be here. I never want to leave.
I love talking to you. We always love having you here. Our audience loves you. Treva, of course, she's a fabulous writer. She's a dating coach. She's a life coach. And she is the co-host of Done Being Single with Treva and Robbie, and we'll link to all of your information. As I said, you're a fabulous writer. You have a blog that has some pretty deep stuff in it. And one of your recent ones is really what I want to talk about today because it's so pertinent in the way many of us here feel. And that is, are you waiting for someone, to love you? Or why are you waiting for people to love you? Are you doing that? Talk to me about that. What came up for you to write that article?
I think I had gotten at a point in my singleness, single life, that I started to really doubt. I had so many non-starters and go nowhere relationships and failures and frustration and disappointment. I mean, and I have to say that I was more the dumper than the dumpy. So I can't claim, oh, poor me. There was, it was kind of even, but I definitely endured my share of heartaches and heartbreaks and breakups. And there came a point, and I was up until that moment a very confident person, and believed in myself, thought I was, the package. And something happened along the way where I didn't feel that anymore. And I just lost all, I don't know, self-esteem and self-confidence. And it was really a crisis. I was single, 40s, 42, 43, 45, 47, 48, 49, almost 50. And I started to really give up and lose hope. And worse than that, though, it just really messed with my mind.
Well, when did you come to the realization that you were waiting for people to love you versus,
Right. So that moment where I just sort of lost my game, I gave all my power away. And in doing so, I was waiting for people to love me, to approve of me, to validate me. And I just lost it. I can't explain it. It was a real crisis of self-worth. I was in the shower today, and all of a sudden the term supply chain, I had a supply chain problem with my self-worth. It was not delivering. I couldn't find it. It was, it was slow. And then it was nothing. And then it was the shelves were bare. And this was what repeated rejection did to me. And I lost myself.
Yeah. You bring up a really interesting point in the article is that when you thought about this, how to make somebody love you, waiting for somebody to love you, you Googled it and you came up, it says here, I think, is it 1,480,000,000 search
Something
results?
like that, yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because here's some of the top titles you mentioned, six scientifically proven ways to make someone fall in love with you, how to use psychology to make someone fall in love with you, 15 tricky psychological ways to make someone love you, etc., etc., etc. And you make a really good point. None of these results were simply love yourself.
Correct. And that's the point I made. That was my point in my Google, if I could add to those Google listings, is that we just kind of forget that it starts with you, and it kind of, when you feel yourself giving it up, giving it over to someone else to determine
Mm-hmm.
your fate and your desirability, it's so demoralizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so yuck. It's sad. And I caught myself, and it was not one of my better moments. It was not my finest hour.
Yeah.
And that's the point I make about being your the source of your own validation, or putting yourself on your own pedestal, and not working so hard to make people love you. I mean, I'm all for self-improvement. Don't get me wrong. That is what that I made a career do. I'd still make a career doing that. But before
Mm-hmm.
I was a coach, I was in the fitness business. I
Mm-hmm.
was a personal
Yeah.
trainer, and I had a business here. So that's all I do. That's all. And I really, I'm all about that. I'm a self-improvement junkie. But even with that, and that's noble.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, God bless anybody who is watching this and is on a path to improvement.
Yeah.
Keep it up. But there comes a point where it becomes counterproductive and almost detrimental to your mental health and your emotional well-being, because where is the self-acceptance there?
Mm-hmm.
That has to be part of your program.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that.
Yeah, that is so interesting, and it's so vulnerable, really, of you to admit that. It just makes you so relatable, because I know lots of us are going through. Like, I'm a people pleaser. I know that. I
Yeah.
like it when I can please someone, and when I get positive feedback, and negative
Yeah.
feedback takes some cracks at me, which I've come a long way, especially doing this channel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's, so I guess some of the signs is just, if you are constantly trying to make someone like you. It's interesting, Treva. I had just today on a video we released, I received a comment from a man that said, the title was, "What do men really want?" And the point was that they want admiration, validation, that kind of thing. And one man commented that all I really want is to be wanted. When I was
Yeah.
married, that was my purpose, that my wife wanted me.
Yeah.
And now that I'm not, I don't think that's ever going to happen again. And that was
Yeah.
so sad.
Yeah. Right. I know it's really sad, but that's the nature of dating, or that's the nature of anything in life. We're
Mm-hmm.
all at the kind of whim, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
of someone, either wanting us or hiring us, or giving us business. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
dating is like being in the service business, right?
Yeah.
So there comes a point though where you have to be your own best friend and your own
Mm-hmm.
fan, your own biggest cheerleader. You can't abandon yourself, because when you do that, it's curtains.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
Well,
it's
how to make somebody want you or like you? It's a big topic, big title. We're going to be doing some videos on that. In the meantime, I want to ask you, and this is another blog you wrote, which goes right hand in hand with this one, is put yourself on your own pedestal, which is really the answer to,
yeah,
snapping out of the waiting for someone to love you, right?
yeah. That is hard. Again, I circle back to self-worth, because really, and I say this all the time, dating to me is an exercise in self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. When you drill down, it's all about what you think you're worth,
Mm-hmm.
and your value and what you deserve. You have to take a hard look at yourself in the mirror, or hear yourself, or have some level of self-awareness, so that you can kind of own what your part is in it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you're striking out, if it's repeated rejections, hey, take a minute and take a break. Hello. Maybe it's time to do a little work.
Mm-hmm.
So between self-acceptance, self-improvement, there is this beautiful place where the magic happens, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point too, is that self-improvement, yeah, absolutely. We talk about this all the time here. We can all improve. We also talk about, as you say, self-acceptance, that at some point you have to just love yourself, like yourself, at the same time as you're improving whatever it is that's important to you. And that's a very fine line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this conversation because again, the articles really got me thinking. Again, just a reflection, obviously, on yourself. That's what we do, but also on so many of the comments that I get. That is that what you're doing? Is it what I'm doing? Are we waiting for somebody to want us, to like us? Are you stuck in that sort of thinking when you're not even aware of it? And that's the first, awareness is the first step to actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
Well, tell me, what didn't I ask? What would you like to say about this topic that you feel is important?
I think we've covered it. I would just hope that people that are listening are tuned in with themselves
Mm-hmm.
as they are tuned into us right now, with what we're talking about. And I think people get it. I don't think that dating should become so hard and so torturous on your self-esteem that you start getting performance anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
That breaks my heart to think that anybody would get there. And I got there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really felt like there was a minute there where I just lost all confidence in myself. I felt like an athlete, a pro athlete,
Mm-hmm.
like a baseball player,
Mm-hmm.
who got up every time got up to bat, struck out, and then every time I'd get up to bat, I was afraid of striking out. So then I'd strike out,
Mm.
and I got so in my head
Yeah.
and so up here that I couldn't relax. I couldn't get into the zone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an athlete. So I get it. So I understand what it's like to play relaxed, and I understand what it's like to date relaxed. And if someone doesn't like you, okay, not the end of the world.
Yeah.
You'll find someone else that does. It's going to take a little time, and it's going to take some work on your behalf to build your self-worth, to boost your ego and your morale, and so that when you go out there, you're perceived as a winner.
Mm-hmm.
That people want you. And if they don't want you, that's their loss.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I want to ask you one more thing that just kind of popped in my head, and that is, if you're somebody who has a friend, like someone who we are describing right now, who is down, who's lost self-confidence, what is something that you could say or do that would help?
Funny you should ask.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So I wrote a book,
Okay.
which comes out next February. I devote a chapter to kind of building your self-worth, or refilling your self-worth tank, because I can't tell you how it's so important to everything we do in life. So there are a few things. For number one, own your truth, own your quirks, own your flaws, and use them to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace who you are. You are of a certain age. You will have baggage. You will have some scar tissue somewhere. We all come with it. Own
Yep.
it. Practice self-forgiveness and compassion.
Mm.
So yeah, we're not everybody's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Forgive yourself. If something didn't work out, have compassion. It's so important not to beat yourself and let it take you down.
Mm-hmm.
Super important. Take stock of all your great qualities. I mean, I know this is sort of cliche, duh, right? But it's true. You have to continually take stock, inventory of your strengths, of your great qualities, of your talents. Keep reminding yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because if not you, who, right? If not now, when? Remember a time when you overcame adversity, okay, or self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Remember
Yeah.
a time when you overcame adversity or self-doubt. How'd you do it? How'd you prevail?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That comes in handy. Use
Yeah.
that again. Celebrate the small wins, right? Congratulate yourself for the little things.
Yeah.
Take some pride. Find some pride in the tiny little things. And that is a way, those are the things that you do to kind of bolster yourself, to build your self-worth, so that the rejections and the disappointments aren't as depressing and devastating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they are there. They're in every phase of life, not just dating. They're,
Everything.
and everything. It's just, it's life. It is. And as long as we know that's what it is, we're all going through it. Here's some ways to put yourself back up on the pedestal and, get through it all. I love this talk. This is, again, it's so stuff that we just don't think about or talk about. We don't like to admit a lot of times how we actually are very, very vulnerable, and I want to say weak. There's weakness there that's tough to admit, but it's also
Sure.
ways to, pop out of that. So again, Trevor, thank you so much. If there's is there anything else you want to say? Otherwise, I'm gonna.
Nah, no, I'm good. That's we covered it. There's so much more. Obviously, you and I could go on, and this is what I love about this because I feel comfortable. I speak freely with you. I don't. I pretend we're not on TV. You make the conversation's great. You have great topics, and I appreciate that. And you're so involved and so collaborative with the conversation. So it makes it great.
Well, thank you, Treva. And that's why you're one of my favorite guests. We'll link to all of your information as usual. Again, Treva is a wonderful coach. Her contact information is in our show notes. So do give her a call if you have any questions. We'll link to your podcast, and I look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you again soon on
Thank
Second
you.
Act TV.
All right.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can click on this little button right here, click right through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.